Beautiful. Alright. Mute your mics. Ben's on my screen first, so I'll go Ben, then James, and then rotate around. It's just the way it is. It's easier that way. Alright.
Cool.
Good evening and welcome to the third episode of the TFN Podcast. I'm Jonathan Mullock, as always, and I am joined by Ben and James. I'll let them introduce themselves, and we'll get right into discussion. So, Ben?
What's up, guys? How you all doing today?
James?
What's going on, guys? Back again for another football chat.
So I guess best place to start would be coming off a lot of midweek games, Champions League, Europa League, Cup games. Start with PSG knocking Chelsea out of the Champions League. Ben, was this something you saw coming?
In a way, yes. I think Chelsea were really lucky to come out of Paris with losing 2-1 and getting that away goal, because PSG, honestly, for about 65, 70% of that game were just walking them off the park. And, it happened, the exact same thing happened in the first 20 minutes against at Stamford Bridge. PSG just looked a whole new level for some reason. The way they pass the ball up the pitch, they move it up in sections and it goes brilliantly. It just works. Once they get around 30 yards outside Chelsea's goal, Di Maria, he just runs things. He absolutely runs things from. He is a brand new player at PSG, and he is something to watch at the moment. But Chelsea, I'll give it to Chelsea. Their tactics were working when they were pressing them in the midfield. They had some very big chances. Diego Costa's goal was really good. I'll give that to Diego. I'm not the biggest fan of Diego. He's a quality player, but I just don't like his attitude. But his goal was really good. But there's a reason why Ibrahimovic is probably one of the best strikers of all time, in my opinion. He's a boss. He's an absolute boss, and his goal was brilliant. His assist was brilliant. But I think Blanc got it absolutely spot on with the tactics against Chelsea. And they were ruthless. They were honestly ruthless. They could have had 3 or 4 goals if they wanted to. They were that good, honestly.
James, everyone gives stick to PSG playing in the French league. They're like, oh, yeah, they're good, but between the money and the shit league they play in, can we really respect them? They just knocked off Chelsea. And I know they haven't had the best of season, but they're still defending Premier League champions, still a very big club. Is it time we start recognizing PSG as one of Europe's best?
Without doubt, I think you've got, in my opinion, you've got that top 3 bracket at the minute. So you've got Barca, Bayern, Real Madrid. They're your top 3 at the minute, and then I think there's a group behind them, which I include PSG, and I think it's like the likes of Juventus, PSG. I think Atletico Madrid are in that group now as well, and I think the English teams are just off that again. Someone said it. I think it might be Rio Ferdinand after the game midweek said that they're one player away from that world class player, from a match winner. Zlatan is a match winner on his day, but he's at the end of his contract. He's getting on a bit now. They just need that kind of, someone that can just turn a game out of nothing and drag them through. I think they've got quality throughout the side. Midfield, they're strong. Defence, they're strong. And the thing is that people say about the playing in the French league, there's no good. It just means they can concentrate on Champions League. They've wrapped up the Liga already, and now all they've got to focus on is the Champions League. So I think they're in that second bracket of top teams in Europe, and I think they're very close, especially with the financial backing they've got. It's one player away, I think, from being really real top contenders.
Funny you bring up Zlatan, his contract being up. Ben, rumored he could be coming to Arsenal in the summer. I'm just going to let you talk about that.
Not the best idea. I love Zlatan. I absolutely love the guy. And what James said about him getting on a bit, that's true. He's really getting on. But I think saying that he's changed to his game, he's in a way he's become more lazier. But it gives him more time to just do his thing. He's still the same player, but he's just not as mobile, shall I say. He doesn't run around as much, but technically perfect. He can play the ball anywhere he wants to. He can shoot from anywhere he wants to. I would do anything for that guy to be our striker next season. But I mean, it's a big ego. It's a big old check as well. We'll have to be paying for him. The paycheck as well is going to be big. I mean, the fact is though, we're a very rich club. We're very financially stable. We can easily get him if we wanted to, but it's just up to the manager at the end of the day. But you know, moving back onto James's point, they really are just one player away from being a top side in Europe at PSG. That, you know, they are so close, and it's really, I like PSG because they play really nice football as well. And Laurent Blanc, he's a likeable manager. He's a nice guy, good tactics, and he's just, it's, you know, falling out to Barcelona in the last year's one was tricky for them because they were just quite simply outclassed every single position. But I don't know, it's a tricky old one. But either way, I've gone off topic, but either way, I'd still love Ibrahimovic to come to Arsenal 100%. The guy is just, he's out of this world. He's genuinely out of this world.
Sticking with Arsenal, they coming off a 2-2 North London derby draw. James, what do you think about the North London derby as a neutral? How'd it go?
It was key moments that changed the game, obviously. Coquelin being sent off, and then that mad, what was it, 10 minutes maybe, maximum, that turned it around 2-1 Spurs. It was an end-to-end game, but like I didn't feel like there was much happening until Coquelin went off. It was kind of Arsenal with the attack. Well, the first 10 minutes, Spurs came out flying, didn't they? And they wanted it. To see they were ready to go. They were on the pace. And for Arsenal, I thought Arsenal did well to hold in at half time themselves into the game, and then it was just such a stupid decision, wasn't it? I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, but and then I think there was a moment as well where Arsenal had a case that Dyer maybe should have been sent off for that toe back on Giroud, and that could have changed the game again. And I think for both teams it was a poor result because they both dropped points, and of course Leicester keep on winning, and they put them further ahead, and it just makes the title race so much harder for they both.
Well, since we don't have 6 hours to sit here and talk, I'm not going to let Ben talk about Arsenal. Instead, I'm going to let him talk about Tottenham. And 2-2 draw, Harry Kane, spectacular again in the derby. Today, dropped against Dortmund, they lose 3-0. How big of an impact, how important is Harry Kane to Tottenham winning the title this year? Which they still very well might do.
He's been the striker they've been looking for. Since Dimitar Berbatov. When Berbatov left, Spurs have really struggled with a consistently good striker who works hard for the team and really wants to play for the team. You know, I've slated Harry Kane off enough for just the way he looks, the way he talks. But I tell you what, he is some player. He really is some player. Honestly, he's one of those strikers where he doesn't need 5 chances to score, maybe like Giroud. He needs 1 chance, and 9 times out of 10, that would probably go in. I don't know what his goal shot to ratio is, but I would be near enough certain it's quite high because that guy is really, really a very good striker. You know, dropping into against Dortmund, I think was a silly choice. I watched 75 minutes of the game, and Spurs were just so lethargic. Like, it was. I mean, of course, Pochettino, they're playing against Aston Villa at the weekend, and to throw away a chance of winning a big, automatically takes you into the Champions League. You know, I think it's a very, very, very silly choice, and I'm a huge admirer of Pochettino. He's a quality manager, but tonight it's just, I wouldn't say it's put down in my head. It's just more put thinking on what the idea was about tonight. But of course they're still going to be up there for the title, but but it's just about if Leicester drop points, which honestly I cannot see them doing until the last 2 or 3 games, because they've got a big final 3 games. So, you know, for my own sake and the fact that I'm an Arsenal fan, I really hope Leicester win. If we don't, but you know, I can admire Spurs for what they're doing. They are playing very good football, and Kane he's their talisman. He really is their talisman they've been looking for.
Let's flip to the other end of the table. Talk about the relegation battle. James, Aston Villa has secured relegation at this point. Newcastle's looking there. Newcastle also going to sack Steve McLaren. Supposedly Rafa Benitez is taking over. Going from Real Madrid to Newcastle. Is he looking for a challenge, or why is Rafa Benitez going to Newcastle? That's what I want to know.
That's a great question. Why would you go? I don't know. I think maybe he thinks he knows the Premier League very well. He's done well with Liverpool when he was there. He was reasonably successful with Chelsea when he was there. He knows the English game. I think he said that it's the place where he feels most comfortable managing. Left Real Madrid in a bad way, really, didn't it? It didn't go well for him. I guess this is kind of a project where he could kind of have his own say on the team. I mean, I know Mike Ashley has a lot of input to the way Newcastle's run, but I think Benitez is the kind of manager that wants to kind of have control of the players and who plays in this side, rather than maybe Perez standing there and pulling strings and telling him and the players arguing with him. But it's a big step down, isn't it? He's not a bad manager. He's done well pretty much everywhere he's gone in his career, and it is a bizarre move, really bizarre move. And I can only see what he can do from here.
Yeah, I don't think he understands the whole, I'm not going to save this season, I'm going to be in the championship next year, but Rafa Benitez. Ben, I guess, other relegation battles. So Aston Villa, Newcastle, probably guaranteed relegation. Who's going to be the last team going down? Why?
I still think at the moment it's really tricky to call, because the last spot is very tricky to call. It's Aston Villa are down. I really don't know what's happened to Aston Villa. It's absolutely crazy. The team's just lost all confidence in themselves. They've lost all confidence in the manager. It's just all gone downhill for them. There's really not much we can say about Villa, apart from the fact that they are most probably going to get relegated. And you know, in a way, for their performances, I'd say they deserve it, because their performances have been well below par, well below Premier League par. The final 2 spots, it's tricky to decide, because I think Newcastle and Norwich are both on 24 points and Sunderland on 25, and there's a big gap between Sunderland and Swansea in 16th. I think there's an 8 or 9 point gap, and that is a big gap when there's 9 games left of the season. That is a huge gap for a lower league, for a lower position team. So, if I was, simply because of his records and the fact that he's done it year on year with teams that look like to get relegated, I think 100% to keep Sunderland up. His record stands. I mean, and I really do believe he'll do it again. It's a shame on Norwich, because I think Norwich are a good side, but they play good football, they defend well, but it's just that quality that they lack. And that's the same, I think, with most of the smaller teams in the league. But you know, it's still very tricky to call. But I'm going to stick with my head, and I'm going to say Sunderland will stay up simply because of Sam Allardyce and his record. That's really I think that's my prediction for it, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree, Norwich. Alex Neil doesn't deserve to be managing in the Championship. He's too good of a manager, but lacks the money and lacks the personnel for sure. James, how about you? Who's going down with Villa?
I think, sad to say, it looks like it's going to be Norwich. I can't see. Yeah, I think Ben nailed it on the head. Sam Allardyce is the man for the job. When you want a team to stay up, he's the kind of guy that will get. He's got players in as well. Kind of like he's got players like Jermaine Defoe that will play for him, and they'll get you points. They will get you points. They'll get you wins. I mean, like the draw on the weekend. I mean, it wasn't what they wanted, but it's still a point. It's still a point. It keeps them up. It keeps them there. They'll give it everything until the last game. I think Norwich will do the same. I think the players. It's not that the players don't want to be there or don't want to play. Like when I watch Villa play, they look heartless, and it's not great. But the Sunderland players, I think Sam's the kind of manager that can get you fired up and getting you wanting to play for him, and you drag yourself that extra 15 yards. You put in that extra tackle. You run that extra bit more. And that's the thing. When it comes to the end of the season, the dogfight that's going to keep these teams up. And I think quality-wise, Sunderland have that edge over Norwich, and that's why I think it's just going to stay the way it is at the minute. Villa, Newcastle, and Norwich.
Fair enough. So, we've heard your relegation predictions. Let us know in the comments below or on Twitter your relegation predictions, everything else we've talked about today. That will conclude this week's podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Ben and James will be in the description below. Check them out. Everywhere else you can find TFN in the description below. And until next week, goodbye.
Have a nice one, guys.
Cheers all.